Good afternoon and welcome back to the channel, everybody. I hope you've all been having a wonderful week so far. It is Friday when I'm filming this. I'm not sure when you're going to be watching it, but hope you have a great weekend as well. We're going to be going through and ranking the entire house of Argos today. This includes some of their newest fragrances as well, like Charon's Vail, Neptunes Trident, and La Primavera. So not to gloss over it really quick, we got Pour Femme and Pour Homme. Both of these fragrances are very good. They are a little bit more geared, in my opinion, toward introductory fragrances to the house, so they are a little bit more mass appealing, maybe even geared towards slightly younger crowds to get them into the house of Argos. Probably most people aren't going to want to start out with something like a Nemean Lion or something of that nature. Just going to be too complex for a lot of people. So great fragrances if you have not tried them, but I do think the house of Argos offers a lot more complexity than those two. Again, definitely geared a little bit more toward the younger crowd trying to get into niche and luxury fragrances. So without further ado, La Primavera, one of their newest releases. Now as a guy, it is harder to get into floral fragrances, but both this and Love Triumphs Over War go very good on my skin, and in fact they are two very highly complimented fragrances for me. But just as a guy, there are other fragrances, of course, that I seem to gravitate towards more, which are why these are in the bottom of the rankings list for me personally. But in terms of compliments and how people like them, florals do seem to go really well on my skin. But of course, as a guy, even though I appreciate the unisex fragrances and I do wear these quite a lot during the springtime, for me, there's just a lot more masculine and things that fit my personality and my fragrance style better from the house. But Love Triumphs Over War is another one. Very, very floral. It's got some fruitiness to it. I believe it's got black currant and raspberry. Much different than La Primavera. La Primavera is citrus, green. It's of course got vetiver and musk in the base as well. Love Triumphs Over War is definitely floral. It's got some musk in the base as well, but definitely a lot more fruitiness to this one and not nearly as green as La Primavera. But this has a ton of complex floral notes. In fact, if you guys watched my top complimented fragrances from the house of Argos, even though it's not my personal favorite, this one is actually my most complimented, and that may change soon. There's a couple of the newer ones that are getting quite a few compliments, but for whatever reason, florals do really go well on my skin. It's just, as a guy, it's not personally my style, even though I do enjoy them from time to time. But both of these are great fragrances, especially if you're a woman. You have to check out La Primavera and Love Triumphs Over War. Really good stuff. So next one for me, it's always hard to rank these because they're so good. It really goes down to occasion, scent profile, personal preferences, time of year. One of my favorite dry downs in any fragrance is actually Baccio Immortale. Now, it's got a lot of leather, raspberry. That's, of course, the main components that you get from the fragrance. But Baccio, guys, on the dry down, it's got oud, birch tar, musk. I think it's got leather in there twice as a mid note and a base note. Very, very clean, leathery fragrance. Love Baccio Immortale. Definitely prefer the dry down, even though I do like the opening as well. Another incredible fragrance, and it just shows how hard it is to really rank these in one house. It really just comes down, again, personal preference, time of year, and situation. Another one that would be higher on my list, but Sacred Flame, as much as I enjoy it, it is so strong, which, when you're buying niche luxury fragrances, you want something to be strong. These fragrances cost a pretty penny. You want longevity, you want projection. This has all of that, but it is certainly more situational for me because Sacred Flame is a cool weather fragrance. That's all I can say about it. For me, it is definitely something I reserve for much cooler weather. It's a fragrance that is extremely spicy, warm, resinous. For me, it just screams like a winter warmer type of fragrance. So really good, but it's something that I don't wear a lot because in the environment where I live down in the southeast United States and Florida, you don't have a lot of opportunities to wear something like this unless it's between the months of November through late March, sometimes early April, just depending on how the cold fronts work. So another one that kind of fits that category is Sacred Flame. This one's really good though. It's a little bit more versatile for me. And this is Birth of Venus. Something I say for cooler weather because it's kind of got a salted chocolate note, but it's also very, very bright and warm. It's got some really nice fruit notes. think it's peach and raspberry it has in here. It's got some florals too. I mean, Birth of Venus is just all around an incredible fragrance. You can certainly wear it all year. For me, in the heat, it doesn't go bad, but it just, for me, a little bit more cooler spring, maybe fall nights and even cold weather here when it does happen. Birth of Venus just shines in just about any environment. Really, really good stuff. Again, something more towards the women's side, I would say, even though it's unisex, but it's something as a guy, if you have the courage to wear, you're going to get a ton of compliments on Birth of Venus. Really, really good stuff. So this one's always going to have my heart because it was the first fragrance from Argos that I purchased. I did purchase all of these fragrances, but Brivido della Caccia is extremely good. It's leather, it's green, it's masculine. Oh man, it's got clary sage, pink pepper in there, birch. I mean, you guys just got to look up the notes on there. It is a very, very green, leather, woody, masculine fragrance in my opinion. It's very, mass appealing. It's got some juniper in there, so it's got a little bit of a berry sweetness, but it doesn't go over the top. It's not too syrupy. It still smells like a green category type of fragrance with some woody notes in there. Just overall, that's what got me into the House of Argos, so obviously it is insanely good. It was the first bottle I purchased, which is why I purchased a small one. I think this is the 30 ml. And of course, when that runs out, I will be repurchasing a 100 ml of Brivido della Caccia. So next one here, we have Adonis Awakens. In my opinion, this is one of the best rose fragrances on the market or in my collection, but it is more of a gourmand rose, like a little bit more of a sweet rose. It's got some chestnut in there, vanilla and raspberry. Actually has rose twice. I think it has rose and then it has rose absolute. So all throughout the top notes and even to the dry down, the main note in here is really rose and sandalwood. I would say that's the main components of the fragrance. You do get a lot of syrupy, kind of raspberry, vanilla notes in there as well. But that's really what this is. This is just an absolutely gorgeous rose and sandalwood fragrance. And for me, it's really hard to go between this one and Pallas Athene because they could be worn in similar situations, but these fragrances are not the same. Pallas Athene, it has red berry. Other florals, I think it has hyacinth in there. Beautiful sandalwood note as well. I'm always in between which sandalwood note I like better. They are different. This has a little bit more complex florals in there along with the red berry, where I would say Adonis Awakens is definitely more sweet, gourmand, and more focused on the note of rose. But Pallas Athene is just an absolutely incredible fragrance, guys. For me, both of these, you could argue that they are a little bit more unisex, like Birth of Venus, that gravitates slightly more toward women. But again, as a guy, if you're not wearing Adonis Awakens or Pallas Athene, I think you're missing out if you like those types of fragrances, just because they may be a little bit more geared to women. I would say that Pallas Athene and Adonis Awakens, especially for spring or summertime, are going to get you a ton of compliments. So one of the newer releases from the House of Argos, this is Charon's Vail, or Charon's Vail, something like that, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Quite a few ways you could. Really, it comes down to the rose, the labdanum, the oud, and the saffron. It's not a fragrance with a ton of ingredients in there or a ton of notes listed, but the notes that are in there, that they come across very pronounced while being well blended. And it's not overly floral, so if you're tired of some of the traditional rose oud fragrances that blast you with like an acidic, sweet rose at the front, not that that's a bad thing, but you're going to get a lot more balance and depth with this. A lot of the saffron is up front, very resinous and warm. I like the fact that you still get a good amount of oud in here, especially when it's sprayed on skin and it dries down. But it's not an animalic or barnyard or any type of offensive oud. Reminds me much more of a cleaner, more wearable oud. Maybe somewhat similar to like a type of oud that's used in Alexandria II, or Alexandria II from Xerjoff, to where it does have a good amount of oud in the fragrance, but it's nothing like a Xerjoff ether or a silver oud from Amouage. It is a much more wearable, cleaner, non-offensive oud. So it is a lot different, which is nice because there is a lot of fragrances in the rose and oud category, And this is very nice because it does play across a lot differently on skin than the majority of fragrances in that category. So hats off to Argos, done in an extrait concentration. Beautiful job with that. Now this next one, newest release from them. This is Neptunes Trident. I just saw on the website this was back in stock, so grab it while you can. I don't have any links. I don't make any money off this. I don't have any personal gain from you buying Argos other than my recommendation thinking you'll like it. So take that for what it is. But for me, Neptunes Trident is one of the better blue fragrances that has been released. I mean, you have everything you could want in here. It's mandarin. You have some tea notes in there. The main thing for me that I wanted to see from a blue fragrance, if Argos was going to release a blue fragrance, and I'd even spoken about this on my channel previously to this being released, I just wanted it to have some real ambergris in there. And not only did they put real ambergris in there, they also used a very good ingredient that, in my opinion, you have to use carefully. Of course, ambergris would be one of those as well, but also the note of petitgrain in here. Now, petitgrain is kind of like a citrusy, woody. I believe it's actually taken from the stems of citrus trees. I believe that's how petitgrain is used in perfumery. I could be wrong on that. Correct me in the comments if I'm not. But petitgrain is basically an extract of the wood from citrus trees. And you get that across in fragrances. It can come across, in my opinion, in the past of fragrances that have used a lot of petitgrain. It can come across sometimes as harsh and dry if it's overused with certain other combinations of notes. But what it does in here with the mandarin, the green tea, and the ambergris, Neptunes Trident is incredible, as you would expect with being in the blue fragrance category. It is very popular and very highly complimented. That's not just Argos doing a great job on this fragrance. That is the category in general. I'm pretty sure I'm not wrong in saying that the blue fragrance category is the most popular one, and it's for a reason. Versatile, wear it date night, dressing up, office, casual wear, gym. It's not going to be too offensive if you spray it on early that morning. Not that any of these are gym fragrances, but if you happen to spray it on early in the morning, get out of work, change real quick, go to the gym, and then you're sweating out Neptunes Trident, people are probably still going to love you for it because it's not going to be too offensive. So next two, it's obviously a tie for these two because they are technically the same fragrance. So Triumph of Bacchus extrait. If you don't feel like paying for the extrait because you may not need 12 to 16 hours of longevity in a fragrance, you're going to be just fine with the regular Triumph of Bacchus. This stuff projects like nobody's business. I don't know how anyone could say some of these fragrances don't last. One of the best experiments is I did, one of my buddies came over, we were watching hockey, and this was a little while ago, probably over 6 months ago. But he was looking at all my fragrances and he asked, I want something really proper for like a date night that also my girlfriend would like and that I could wear to the office. So I sprayed one small spray of Triumph of Bacchus here on his arm and another one there. And an hour later, if I'd go to the kitchen to grab a beer or something like that for the game, I could walk into the room and still smell it 15, 20 feet away. So this stuff projects, it lasts. For me, of course, I prefer the extrait because it's just a higher concentration. But really, the only time I wear the extrait over regular Triumph of Bacchus is just occasions where I know I'm going to be having a very long day. I'm not going to have a chance to go home and change or reapply the fragrance. Maybe I'll have a dinner function or a date later that evening, 12, 14 hours after applying the fragrance early in the morning. And this is the one that I wear when I just need it to last, 12 to 16 hours. Honestly, guys, spraying this stuff on skin, it is so strong because of just the regular Triumph of Bacchus fragrance structure. And then you put the oil concentration of 40% and the extrait, and you almost have to plan your fragrances around wearing this because even after a shower, this will still smell on your skin the next day. So hats off to them for that because it definitely lasts a very long time, even on skin. But it is something that is very strong to wear. You're probably better off wearing a lighter tobacco fragrance or something of that nature the day after, just because Triumph of Bacchus extrait, again, even after a shower, is still going to be going strong on your skin. So very good fragrance, very situational. Even Christian Petrovic said it himself. Formula and the proportions are the exact same from the regular Triumph of Bacchus and the extrait. It is just done at a higher concentration. And I haven't really been able to pick out any major differences. I think I've said in a few videos to where it seems like maybe some of the base notes, because of the concentration, may play across a little bit heavier on the extrait, and of course some of those top notes may last a little bit longer because it is an extrait concentration. But overall, it's just kind of pulling hairs there. There's not really hardly any measurable difference in my opinion. So now we have Danae. Now Danae, as soon as one of my friends smelled this, he bought a bottle. And I believe he also has, not Love Triumphs Over War, he has Fall of Phaeton as well. I think he has 2 or 3 from the house now, just from coming over to my house and smelling them and wearing them. If your color of Danae is a little bit different than this one, don't worry. This bottle I think is 2.5 to 3 years old. Most of the fragrances, whether or not it's Argos or another one, any fragrances that don't use artificial dyes and a lot of natural ingredients are going to have some darkening and maturation to them. And I've gotten some new samples of Danae from buying some of the newer releases, and I almost just bought them to compare it because I knew that the color was going to be different. Some of them are like a light pinkish, some of them are a gold color. So just to address that, there's been no formula change to my knowledge from Danae, but you will experience with fragrances that are natural and do not have dyes in them, you will experience some color change, and this one still smells absolutely incredible. If anything, I would say it's almost gotten even better since I bought it, but there really is not. Again, there's really no noticeable difference. So don't worry about what color your Danae is. It's still Danae. So next one. This one keeps moving up my list because it is just so profound. I get a ton of compliments on it. And if you guys know the channel, you already know that this is like my favorite kind of fragrance style. It's masculine, oud heavy, green, woody. And this is Nemean Lion. Now, this was pretty elusive. This was an elusive lion at one point. I think they had 2 releases of it. First release, I missed. Second release, I got the bottle of Nemean Lion. I think that was about 2 years ago. Animalic, woody, leather, definitely green. And I always make this reference with this fragrance just because it's my personal experience with it. Kind of smells a little bit like an old church. Sweet wood, little musty, animalic, definitely heavy on the oud and the leather in here. So much so that Christian Petrovic put a warning label on this fragrance stating that it should only be for fragrance lovers that are 21 years or older. Not saying that if you're younger than that, you won't enjoy this fragrance or appreciate it, but for most of the younger crowd, it's just going to be too much. It really is. It's going to be too much. For someone like me, who's been into fragrances for a while, I really enjoy the oud fragrances, the heavier animalic fragrances, and I just can't stop smelling this stuff. It is deep, rich, complex, slightly sweet and green, but it's a natural sweetness to it. It's nothing that feels like forced or added. There's no smell of like maltol or anything like that in here. Nemean Lion is just a gorgeous masculine fragrance, and I'll always say this about Nemean Lion. It's one of those fragrances when you wear as a guy, people don't even have to turn around in the room to see you. They can just smell Nemean Lion and know that a man has walked into the room. It's not, even though I enjoy this unisex stuff, some goes better on my skin than others, and I'm sure you guys are with this, but it is nice that you still have fragrance companies, especially niche and luxury fragrance companies, that will actually go out there, have some gumption, and make a fragrance that actually is pretty much saying, this is just for men. This is not something that we want to create as unisex. I know for a business, you're kind of ostracizing, part of your client base doing that. But I think more fragrance companies need to do that nowadays, making fragrances that are a little bit more separated for men and women. Because even though I do enjoy some of the unisex stuff, it is nice when you get some companies making fragrances like Nemean Lion to where there is no confusion about who that fragrance is for. So definitely very masculine. I know a lot of guys, especially probably 25 to 45, even older than that, really going to appreciate Nemean Lion. And especially if you're like in your 50s or 60s, I think this is going to remind you of some of the stuff you or perhaps even your father wore back in like the 70s and 80s, stuff like that. Just true masculine fragrances that are unapologetic. Last but not least, my number one still hasn't changed. It's always going in between some of these, but man, Fall of Phaeton is just so good, so complex. It's warm. You got, the citrus and the ginger. You got some resiny notes in here. Agar wood. I believe it's like leather and vanilla in the base as well. But this fragrance is almost like owning 2 or 3 different fragrances. That's how different the top, middle, and base notes are. And as you spray it down, as you spray yourself and it dries down, I should say, you really get an indication that this fragrance lasts forever. It projects well, but that's the main thing of this fragrance that it does well, is it really does a good job of having a full transition and separation between those top, middle, and base notes. It's almost like the story of Fall of Phaeton itself. You know, it kind of starts off a little brighter and then it goes darker and more mysterious and deeper kind of as he's falling there. And it's one of those fragrances, for me anyway, it is just perfect. You know, it's still masculine. It can be worn dressing up, even though it's strong. It's something that could still be worn if you spray it light in the office or something like that, or for business meetings. So it is versatile. And it's also one of those fragrances, again, with the top notes, the middle, and the base notes. It's not something that's out of place in warm weather. In fact, if you look at the top notes, you might even think that it would be a warm weather fragrance. But for me, that one's just an all year round banger. I may save it a little bit more for cooler weather because there's so many other good ones in this house, especially when you look at Neptunes Trident, La Primavera, Love Triumphs Over War, Pallas, Athene, some of these other ones. They're so welcoming in the warm weather that I just have a little bit of a tendency maybe to personally say Fall of Phaeton for cooler weather. But the truth is that it's definitely one of those that is year-round. Similar to Danae. You know, Danae you can wear during cooler weather, but it's also not out of place in warmer weather because it is very citrusy, warm, and woody. Yeah, just an unbelievable house. So I hope this video helped you guys if you're maybe a little bit newer to the House of Argos, or even if you have some experience with it and you've just not been able to try some of the new releases that have come out. Of course, Neptune's Trident just coming back in stock now after about a month or maybe even more of being out of stock. So yeah, just a lot of stuff coming from this house that is super high quality. Really love, especially Charon's Vail and Neptune's Trident. Some of their latest releases. Sacred Flame was amazing. Again, that one's a little bit more for cooler weather in my opinion, but I can't wait to see what they come out with this year because it's been very clear to me, at least from collecting the House of Argos and getting all these fragrances, I wouldn't have them if I didn't enjoy them. And the main thing is, one thing I get from Argos is that it really is about quality instead of quantity. They're really focused on releasing well thought out fragrances that are natural. You see them gravitating with their newer releases more towards the extrait concentrations because they realize that a lot of people really want that extra lasting power. So they're also a company that listens to their customer base. What else could you want? Wonderful house, wonderful company. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.